Hello, welcome back to Beauty Bee. Today we are going to follow up last week's video on the brands I cannot stand with some brands that I sort of admire from afar. I've only tried one item overall from any of these brands, but there are ones that I'm actually pretty interested in. There are actually brands in here that I don't think I would like to purchase anything from, but I sort of have a crush on them. I like what they're doing. I think what they're up to is pretty neat, and I feel like garbage today. So I wanted to talk about something that made me happy, and this seemed just right. So let's get into it with brand number one, which is Juvia's Place. Now, when Juvia's Place first kind of crept into my awareness was, I think, probably about 2017, and I was so not interested. They were these very bright seeming palettes, and looking back, they are bright, but not as incredibly bright as I thought they were. I was pretty sure at that point that anything that wasn't brown, gold, peach was too colorful, would wash me out, just awful. But I've really grown to like what the things that they've been releasing. I think that the mini palettes are very, very cool. There are actually 3 or 4 of those that I would like to have at some point, though I'm not sure that the combination of pan size and price tag and just that I would have to order them online is really a great combination for me. But that little purple palette, adorable. The nudes looks like the perfect palette, not for me now, but for me maybe 5 years ago or so. I mean, I was in that stage that I think a lot of us go through when we're getting into makeup, where we put one shimmery shade all over the lid and maybe put a little bit of a matte color in the crease, and it's always one of like 3 colors, and the 3 shimmery shades in that palette are exactly the ones that I would have liked to use my junior and senior year of college. It's a pity that wasn't out at that time, because that would have been $14 extremely well spent for my 21-year-old self. I also really, really adore the Nomad Palette. I believe that I have talked about this somewhat at length before, and I will link that in whichever corner it shows up in. I think it's this one. Am I right? I'll find out in editing. And while I'm not super interested in any of their other products, their blushes seem to skew a little bit too bright for me, which makes sense, that's fine. And their lipsticks, while quite attractive, I think are just a little bit higher priced than I'm really looking to spend right now. But overall, I think their stuff just looks neat, and it sounds like they come out with pretty consistently good quality at a very reasonable price point. And I think it's so cool that they're doing that. Now let's talk about another reasonably priced brand, which is actually the only one on this list that I've ever tried anything from, and that is Flower Beauty. Now, my little crush on Flower Beauty started really around the same time the brand began. I remember seeing Emily Noel show off the little face palettes that were quite similar to the Charlotte Tilbury look in a palette, or whatever it's called. I'll put up pictures both of the flower one and the Charlotte Tilbury one. And I just thought it was so neat. Flower is more expensive than some of the drugstore brands. I would say that it's more at a L'Oreal, Neutrogena price point than, say, Maybelline or CoverGirl, but it's not terribly expensive, and I think that their packaging in particular really looks quite a bit more high-end than those brands do, and it really feels higher end than similarly priced brands at the drugstore. And there's so many other things from the brand that I actually do want to try. I think that the Jungle Lights palette looks beautiful. I've always been intrigued by their lip duos. They have, I don't remember exactly what the name for these products is, but they have a small lipstick on one side and a lip gloss that seems to be somewhat metallic on the other. I know that Tarte had something similar. I believe they still do have something similar actually, and those look really lovely. Drew Barrymore, I think, has done a really good job of giving a personality to the brand. I mean, Flower Beauty to me has always had the energy of like your cool aunt who occasionally will give you her Estee Lauder and Clinique gift with purchase lipsticks when you're 13. Is that very specific? Do I have an aunt like that? Yes and no, in that order. But that's the energy I get from the brand, and I think it's really cool. So let's move on to a couple of brands that are actually way too cool for me. And we can just talk about these at the same time because at least in my mind, they occupy a very similar space, and that is Persona Cosmetics and M Cosmetics. Both of these, again, if we're talking about the personality or the vibe of the brand, both of these to me feel like the energy of a New York beauty editor who's going to the Hamptons for a weekend and is packing her perfect beauty bag to fit all occasions. And again, that's specific. But what makes me feel that way is they both have this very chic, minimalist look to their packaging. I mean, with M Cosmetics, you have those gorgeous serum blushes that come in the droppers, which I think I want mostly to play with the packaging rather than to use on my face. However, I can't pay, I think it's right around $20 to get a dropper bottle. I could just buy a dropper bottle. And that's ridiculous. And I think Persona has only released 2 full-size palettes in the 5-ish years that I've been aware of the brand. And the Identity one, which has the most gorgeous illustration on it, I think that's so cool. There is no way that's not featuring in the thumbnail of this video. And Identity 2. A combination of those 2 palettes would give a pretty complete eyeshadow wardrobe for someone who did somewhat understated eye makeup, but consistently wore eye makeup. And that's pretty neat. And especially in the case of Persona Cosmetics, their line is fairly small. I think they only have maybe 2 formulas of lip products. Again, 2 eyeshadows. I don't even think they have like mascara or brow pot products. I think they just have shadow and liner, a couple types of lipsticks, and a couple types of cheek products. And that's so neat to me that they have managed to stay in business for so long, because they've been around for a good 5 years or so now, while having this pretty limited range. Cosmetics has also set a nice pace of releases. They have slowly built up their line to, I don't think it is a fully comprehensive line, but I know that they have eyeshadows and liners and a couple different lip formulas. I believe a couple of different cheek formulas as well. And they've added those quite slowly over time. It seems like all the releases are quite thoughtful for both brands, and that's something that I honestly don't see very often and really do appreciate. So the fifth brand that I admire from afar is Sydney Grace Cosmetics. I believe that they are an indie brand. I believe that they sell mostly single shadows. They've branched out into palettes, I know, and I want to say that they have some lip and cheek products, but I'm not positive on that. My interest has always been the eyeshadows. I think it is so cool that they put out slightly different versions of their palettes. They put out lighter and darker ones. They have quite similar color stories, and I think some of the individual shades are actually the same between the palettes. However, they will make sure that the transition shades in the lighter one are suitable for lighter skin tone, the transition shades and crease shades in the darker one are more appropriate for darker skin tones. So if you buy one of them, you should, theoretically at least, be able to effectively use all the shades in the palette as originally intended. So the Enduring Love palette, which I'm going to put the light version up, is stunning, and I'm glad it was sold out when I first realized that it existed, because otherwise it might be mine right now. And $52 for eyeshadow is absolutely insane. I'm not doing that. I know that's been totally normalized within the community in the past few years, but I live on a graduate student stipend, so no, thank you. Their single shadows are also just stunning. They have a beautiful range of shades and some very interesting looking finishes. I used mostly Sydney Grace along with a little bit of ColourPop to design the Halloween collection video, which I don't know if that will be up before or after this, but be on the lookout. It'll be either in the cards or in the comments if it's after. I think I also used exclusively Sydney Grace to make the Star Wars palette collection video. It's a really lovely set of shades. They really appeal to me, and yeah, I definitely do admire this brand from afar. Okay, so I think I fangirled for long enough. I would love to hear what brands you've admired from afar, or to hear about your experiences if you've really tried these brands. I am very curious about them, and like a 15-year-old girl with a crush, I need to know more. I want to continue to admire them from afar and learn everything about them without actually engaging and interacting. You know, like, I say like a 15-year-old girl, but I think that's also a stalker. So we're gonna keep with the 15-year-old. Good? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you will consider liking and subscribing if you did. Until next time, see ya!